Let's look at number 19. Which of the following can be properly inferred if the statements are true? So we're looking for an inference. If all the above is true, which of the following must also be true? So it says no new course will be approved for next year's schedule unless a proposal for it has already been received, either by the committee or by Dean Wilson. That's the only way that we will approve a new course, is if a proposal has already been received by one of those two people or places, either Dean or the committee. Dean Wilson has received only one new course proposal, and all of the new course proposals that the committee has received are for upper level courses. So that's our pool that we have to choose from. If there's any new courses, it's going to come from one of those, either the one that Wilson received or any of the ones that the committee has received, which happen to all be for upper level courses. Then it gives us another fact in the last sentence. It says, by the way, it's also been decided that beginning next year, all upper level courses will have prerequisites, which means that of the ones that the committee got a proposal for, we know, according to this last sentence, that if any of them become new courses, if they're approved, they will also have prerequisites. So a lot of information here going in a few different directions. Let's see if we can find an answer. It's hard to really predict exactly what the answer is going to be here. But we basically know that any new course next year will have to have been one of these courses that a proposal was already received by either the committee or by Dean Wilson, right? And then of the ones that the committee got the proposal for, we know they're all upper level courses, and we know that starting next year, all upper level courses will have prerequisites. So that's all the information we have. Let's see if we can find something in the answer choices that has to be true as a result of all this. A says if there are no new upper level courses next year, then we'll know that there will be no new courses next year that have prerequisites. That's not necessarily true, right? Because we know that beginning next year, all upper level courses will have prerequisites, right? But that doesn't mean they're the only ones that are going to have prerequisites. So maybe we'll have new lower level courses that will also have prerequisites, right? So therefore, maybe A will be false. Maybe there will be no new upper level courses next year, but that doesn't mean that there will be no new courses that have prerequisites, right? It never says that upper level courses are the only ones that have prerequisites. Lower level courses may also have prerequisites. That's why A is not necessarily true. B tells us that if all the new courses next year are upper level courses, then that would have to mean that all of the new course proposals submitted to the committee will have been approved. Now, that's not necessarily true, right? We do know that all of the proposals submitted to the committee are for upper level courses. But that doesn't mean that if all the new courses are upper level courses, that all of those proposals were approved, right? Maybe there were 10 proposals submitted to the committee and maybe only 5 of them will have been approved and the other 5 were rejected. And those 5 that were approved are, we know that they're all 10 of them are upper level courses, or all however many of them, according to the paragraph, are upper level courses, right? But it could be that only 5 are approved and 5 aren't, and those 5 are all upper level courses. So just because all the new courses are upper level doesn't mean that all of those course proposals submitted to the committee will have all been approved. Could be there were 10 of them, 5 of them were rejected, 5 of them were approved, and those 5 are all upper level courses, right? Because all 10 are. And therefore B isn't necessarily true, and so it's not the right answer. C, if there is more than one new course next year, then that would have to mean that at least one of them will be a course that has a prerequisite. Now let's think about that. If there's more than one new course next year, that means we have to dip into those committee proposal courses, right? Because any new course next year has to either come from a Dean Wilson proposal or a committee proposal. But Dean Wilson only got one course proposal, which means if there's more than one new course, then it can't just be from Dean Wilson. It has to be that at least one of them came from the committee as well, right? So C starts off by saying if there's more than one new course next year, so we could fill in the blank. We know that that means that at least one course is coming from the committee. New course is coming from the committee, right? And we also know, according to the paragraph, that all those courses from the committee are upper level courses, and all upper level courses starting next year will have prerequisites. Therefore, the second part of C actually does follow, right? C is true. If there is more than one new course next year, then we would for sure know that at least one of them will have a prerequisite, because we would know that at least one of them would have had to come from the committee. All the committee course proposals are for upper level courses. All upper level courses starting next year will have prerequisites. Therefore, C is true. We know that C has to follow from this, so C is the correct answer. And once again, We know this because Dean Wilson only got one proposal. So if there's more than one new course next year, right, we know that all new courses have to come from either a committee proposal or a Dean Wilson proposal. Dean Wilson only had a proposal for one course. So if there's more than one new course, that means, let's say there were two, then that means they couldn't have both come from Dean because Dean only had one. And if there were three, certainly if there were 4, 5, 6, etc., we know that there has to be at least one that comes from the committee, and any course that comes from the committee will be upper level and therefore will have to have a prerequisite, and therefore at least one of the new courses next year will have to have a prerequisite. So C is true and the correct answer. D, if the new course proposal that Dean Wilson received is for an upper level course, then all new courses offered next year will have prerequisites. Now, I just tricked you because I said all new courses. It doesn't say that. It says all courses, right? If it said all new courses, it actually would have to be true. But the problem is it doesn't say all new courses. It says all courses, right? So you have to always read very, very carefully. And, right, let's think about it. If it said all new courses, then that would probably have to be true, because if the new course proposal that Dean Wilson received is for upper level courses, well, that means that we already know that all the committee proposals are also for upper level courses, and therefore we would have to know that all new courses offered next year would have to have prerequisites, because they can only come from one of those two places, Wilson proposal or committee proposal. And if they're all for upper level courses, well then yeah, all courses would have to have prerequisites, because we know that all upper level courses next year will have prerequisites. The problem is D doesn't say all new courses offered next year. It says all courses offered next year. That's a trick. I will admit that the first time I did this question, I had to spend a little bit of time on D to figure out what was wrong with it, and I didn't notice I made that mistake of just reading too quickly and not seeing that it doesn't say all new courses. It says all courses. This whole paragraph is all about new courses. It says no new course will be approved for the schedule unless a proposal has been received, and then we talk about all the proposals gotten by Wilson and the committee. But even though that's all true, it could be that 90% of the courses next year are not new courses, right? And all those other 90% of those old courses, who knows? Maybe they have prerequisites, maybe they don't, right? Maybe they're upper level, maybe they're lower level. We have no idea. And therefore, regardless of these proposals and these new courses, we can't infer anything as universal as D, that all courses offered next year will have prerequisites, because maybe, like we said, there's 90% of all the other courses that are not new, the other 90% of the courses that are old, maybe they're lower level courses. Even if all the new ones are upper level, maybe all the old ones are lower level and therefore won't have prerequisites. So D is not necessarily true. E says that if there are no new upper level courses next year, then the new course proposal that was submitted to Dean Wilson for approval will have been approved. Is that necessarily true? Let's think about it. If there are no new upper level courses next year, what does that mean? That means that none of those committee course proposals were approved, right? Because any new course next year, according to the paragraph, has to have been from a proposal to the committee or to Wilson. And we know that all the course proposals to the committee were for upper level courses, right? So that means if there's no new upper level courses next year, that means none of those committee courses came into being, came into approval, right? So that's what we know so far. But does that necessarily mean that the new course proposal that was submitted to Dean Wilson will have been approved? No. Just because all of the committee proposals were rejected doesn't mean Dean's proposal wasn't also rejected. It could be that there's no new courses next year, right? It could be that the proposals to the committee were all rejected, and also Dean Wilson's proposal was also rejected, and there's just no new courses next year. Who says that is not a possibility, right? There's nothing in this paragraph that says that there has to be at least one new course next year. If we knew that there had to be at least one new course next year, then E would have to be true, right? Because if there's no new upper level courses, that means those committee courses were not approved, which would have to mean that the one Dean Wilson course proposal was approved. But because there's a possibility that no new course proposals will be approved for next year, we don't necessarily know that E is true. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit subscribe. And for thousands more clear LSAT explanation videos, go to masterlsat.com.